Hello and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers. This is episode number 98 on ebayscavengers.com.
Cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Right now, after we said that we were worried that these were getting a little bit too long, we got a lot of feedback. And it seems like everyone is listening to us right now. Or not everyone, many people are listing right now.
Yes, so if you're listing...
Taking photos.
Yes, you're working, so that's good.
Yep. That's what separates the real sellers from the not sellers.
From the hoarders.
Yeah.
Basically. So this week was super slow. Like, one day we literally almost didn't sell anything, which is really insane to me.
But we did.
But we did sell one thing.
Yeah. And we've been selling a lot of really small items, or not small, but items that are $15, $20.
Yeah, low priced items.
Which we are listing less and less of those kind of items. We're really, lately we only have been listing things for over $30.
Yeah.
$40 and $50,
Yeah, I've noticed the quality of our stuff has gone up. I think we're being a little bit more discerning when we buy stuff.
But so far in our store this week, it seems like everyone was either just wanting to get a crazy deal.
Oh, yeah.
And we took some half-price offers, or...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's, it's interesting because, there's no way for us to know if this is across the board on all of eBay, or just the stuff we happen to have isn't what people were looking for this week.
Well, I think what often, as we've spoken about before, kind of frightens me is, right now we have 3,200 items in our store. That is a lot of stuff. And to have a day where, you go almost the whole day with nothing selling, there were no questions, no offers. It was like, how can this be? It feels really weird.
I mean, as we've always said, we've been around long enough where this happens.
Yeah.
It's not the first time it's happened. And
it fluctuates.
And then today, we wake up and we already sold almost $300 worth of stuff. So.
Yeah, so because it was slow, I was on, as much as I could this week, on a listing frenzy. Like yesterday, I sat on the couch and listed, I think, 35 items. I just sat there and I was like, don't even talk to me. I'm in a zone.
Which, I think is interesting because maybe it's counterintuitive to some people, but I think that's our strategy, is that when we get, kind of anxious about things not selling on eBay, we put more work into it.
Right.
And lists.
Well, that's the power you have. That's the control you have, is go list some stuff. So the cool thing is, I listed about 35 things yesterday, and 4 of those things sold overnight. That's awesome. That really helps you to think you're not doing this in vain. This stuff is going to sell. Actually, one thing that sold, this is really funny, were these little patches that we have for the National Cave Convention, because we live in part of Virginia where there's lots of natural caves. And I was listing these things and I was like, I literally have no idea who would buy this. And in 5 minutes of me listing them, they sold to some guy in Missouri, some spelunker Missouri. Yep. It's like, what the hell? So those are fun things where you're like, no one's ever going to buy this. Boop, 5 minutes later, it's gone.
And those purses that you listed, I think it knew that they were going to sell. These are kind of special.
Yeah, so we have a lot of purses and handbags, just because those are fun, I think, to buy and sell, because there are a lot of women who are really into handbags. I'm not one of them, but I know there are a lot of people that are. So the ones that I have are a lot of people who grew up in the 60s and 70s know that there's a brand called John Mayer of Norwich. And he was a fashion designer that basically designed the preppy collegiate look back then in wool tweeds.
Back in what, the 60s?
60s. It was 60s and 70s, early 70s. And so we find his stuff occasionally, and there are 2 or 3 people who buy his stuff exclusively. One of them is his daughter, John Mayer's daughter.
And you might know him because he also designed for that other clothing.
For Villager. So if you do vintage clothing, you've seen the Villager. Or if you grew up in the 60s and 70s, you probably wore Villager clothes. My mom is like, oh yeah.
Super waspy looking.
Oh, it's every woman that wore it was like from Connecticut, like went to Yale or whatever, wanted to look like they, whatever. But if you look it up, if you Google it, you'll find some good images. But so I had a purse by John Mayer, and I had a little clutch that was made by the Villager. But John Mayer made stuff for Villager, so I'm pretty sure he made it. They sold overnight for full price. One was $90 and one was $125. So we made like $200 waking up this morning. So that was like a godsend.
I mean, that's an example of just having experience,
right?
Because we've seen this around and doing its research,
yeah.
you know. And, we've sold some of his stuff. It's before. And
like, I knew it was something I knew from my mom and from stuff that I've read that it was a big deal in the 60s and 70s. And I see the stuff, and I'm a big nerd about like wool tweed and things like that. So I go for that stuff anyway. So there were no purses by him online anywhere that I could find right now. So I was like, price it high, make an offer, we'll see. They sold overnight.
And that's where when we sell, it's one of a kind items, that's where it really shines, where you're literally the only person on eBay with this thing, and that there are people out there looking for this stuff. And I don't know. I think that's what's fun versus just if you buy just quantity stuff from someplace. And
I have fun with the kind of old designer collector stuff. For me, and I think Van from Thrift Core kind of talks about this, like I do like to be a curator, but I don't want to keep I don't want to keep that stuff in my house. I don't need 10 purses, but I would love for it to go to someone who's looking for it. So it's that pass-through entity.
No one will ever be able to compete on that, like a Walmart or, no big company can ever come into this area because it's so, these are rare items. We have no competition on this. It's really about scavenging,
And that's what separates sellers too, like you're saying. The people who are willing to do the research, go out and find stuff and figure out what it is. I mean, that takes work, and you have to want to do that work. You don't have to just, buy some stuff on Alibaba.com or whatever. Like, it's just, it separates people.
I mean, I don't want to be negative towards that. It's just I'm obsessed lately with these people on YouTube, and they're making all these videos about how they're making all this fast money by buying things on Amazon and selling them on eBay.
How much profit can you make on that, though?
I don't know.
I really want to know.
It's really interesting. I don't know if I just have found it's videos and they've been around for a long time, or if it's a new kind of fad or thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really obsessed because they throw around numbers that are incredible, and I just wonder if it's a lasting business, because it just seems so easy, or they make it seem so easy, and there's no barrier to entry to get in on this.
Anyone could
start doing it, and so it really smells like some kind of weird pyramid scheme. But so it's going to be interesting to talk in a year and wonder if those people will still be around.
So just curious, like, are they literally like, I made $10,000 in a week? Is it that crazy?
I mean, some people are like, I made $120,000 in 12 months, like in a year. And,
and I just sat there and did nothing.
I mean, some people are more like, I made $8,000 in 4 months, but I didn't do anything.
Right.
I've got a job, and this is just like,
it's like a hobby.
I spend half an hour a day, click, click, click.
It's so scammy, though. Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I've always said, it's like capitalism in its purest form. I mean, these people, it's called arbitrage in the sense, like, you found these price fluctuations, and you found a little tiny hole.
It's a loophole,
and you take advantage of it. And so it's just really interesting. I would think that the big companies that they're buying from, TJ Maxx or whoever, shoe companies, it's Walmart, Amazon, that they see all this stuff and that they'll somehow do something to close that hole up.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like,
so interesting.
Instead of dumping their inventory on its market so its resellers can resell it, they'll just sell it online themselves.
Well, there's two different things that you're talking about. There's retail arbitrage, which means you and I walk over to Walmart, get something super, super cheap in bulk, and then send it to FBA, Amazon FBA, and then make a crap load of money because we bought it for like 50 cents each, which in my experience, I've never seen anything I could buy at Walmart for that cheap. And then number two, you're talking about the other people who are literally not buying anything, just putting a listing on eBay of stuff that's already on Amazon, but they have a Prime membership so they get free shipping and they price it higher on eBay or something, and then they gift it to the person who bought it on eBay.
That's another way to do it.
So there are two different things.
There's all it's levels of doing it. Yeah, I mean it's really interesting. I mean,
but you're obsessing over it.
I'm obsessing it because it's like I don't want to walk away from easy money. It's just I can't really get my scavenger brain around it. Like this one woman I was listening to, and it's one of the ones that says that she makes $120K after her expenses in 12 months. It seems like a big part of her thing is food. And what she does is she's in like a certain part of the country where for whatever reason at her store, they're trying out items, these big brands, like taco flavored chips or something. I don't know. And so she'll buy these things in bulk and sell them on Amazon because people really love
They don't have them in their area.
Right. And for whatever reason, these big companies aren't selling these items online. So she's able to sell them. It seems like a big thing, too, is soldiers or people that work for
people overseas,
military. They want a box of cereal or something.
They want their own...
And they're willing to pay like $15 for a box of cereal. It's just, I get it if you could do it for like a one-time kind of thing.
Right.
It's amazing to me that they seem to act like they can do it consistently.
Right, like every single day.
Because you would think like, I don't know. It's really amazing. I think it's for us, we're just a type of scavengers. It's kind of like, we're like the people that have been doing it for a long time where... You're just finding a vintage and antique kind of items, it's one-of-a-kind items. Yeah. There's a lot more handling to it.
There's a lot more work, like you said. It's just,
But then our there aren't a lot of people competing against us.
Exactly. That's the good thing. Like with those purses, I mean, I was literally the only person online selling them, so.
We would love to hear people talk about it in the comments because I'm really interested if people see these videos, try it out, and then it works.
Yeah, it's like you said, the barrier to entry is so low, so why isn't every single person doing it?
Okay, well that's
the end of your obsession now. Okay. So Jay's been taking photos of pants, a mofo.
I mean, talk about the unglamorous world of eBay. Yeah. I mean, this week we've probably been collecting pants for the past, I don't know,
a long time,
a year and a half or something.
Because we never take photos of them.
And these are like, mainly men's pants, right? And women's too. Good quality pants. Eddie Bauer.
Yeah. People buy pants online. I have had the experience of doing
wool pants, cotton pants, military pants. Right. And these are things that we just pick up almost for free where, you'll be at a thrift store or yard sale and they're just basically giving them away or, you buy them for,
a quarter,
$1 a piece.
Or if we buy them in bulk, you get a whole trash bag full of, nice quality, like khaki pants for, a couple bucks.
So,
it's hard to resist.
It's something that hasn't been that exciting for us, but yeah, I mean, how can we pass that up? So finally, when the pile was so big,
it was huge.
I decided to do it. And you know what? I'm eating through it.
The good thing is pants, they really do sell. I mean, people, especially because, for me, when I've bought pants on eBay, you're looking for very specific measurements. And if people do the good measurements, they'll fit you great. And, you know, you don't have to try them on or anything. And
yeah, I mean, and people spend, it's $50, $80 on a good pair of pants in a store. So, you know, they'll easily spend $30
yeah.
on you know, a nice quality pair of pants online.
Yeah, even if you can sell a pair of pants, like, you know, a pair of military pants or whatever for $20-$25. I mean, for one pair of pants, that's not bad.
However, I feel like this is really kind of getting into that area where I'm just realizing it's just not something I'm very excited about. And I just, you know, it's like,
yeah, oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like you can sell anything online.
Right.
And like your mom says, though, you can't be an expert in everything.
Right.
Like you just can't, you know, I'm just not sure if this is something, you know, I'd like to keep buying and selling.
Well, I think also what you said the other day is you were like, we just need to get like high-end pants, not just like, hey, these are cool wool pants from the 70s. Okay, that's awesome,
Yeah.
but what are people looking for? They're looking for Eddie Bauer and
But
Gap.
everyone, I'm sure, can understand, though, when you're out there and you just see things
Yeah.
that are basically being given away, it's just hard to turn it
Not
down.
to.
But I feel like the more we do this, I mean, I see it now when we were scavenging, you know, over the week. You know, I noticed I was passing up things I would have definitely picked up
Right.
a long time ago. I'm just slowly putting up filters.
Well, it's like when last weekend I did a bunch of dresses. I just don't buy dresses unless it's a super high end because I'm like, it's such a pain for me to do dresses. Dress the mannequin, steam the dress, do a million measurements on the dress. It's like, okay, unless I'm getting $100 for this thing, forget it.
And, you know, the amount of time that we spend on an item that might sell for $20 is the same amount of time it would take for an item that sells for $80.
Right.
You know, so I think that's what we're just it's realizing. You know, the bottleneck is a listing.
Right.
So if you have a really small, you know, space where you can actually list, then you need to really make sure the stuff that you're putting in that pipeline is really high quality.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I actually listed 3 high-end items on Etsy just to try to get a little more views on these things. One is a set of lamps, beautiful set of lamps. We've talked about them before. We cannot sell them. They're gorgeous. I don't know what the problem is. I have a really, really, really high price on them. That's probably why. But, you know, I'm open to negotiation. Although you can't really negotiate on Etsy unless someone just like sends you a conversation.
But, you know, these are those kind of items where they're super, it's one of a kind.
Yeah.
You know, really kind of like part in our mind of like an art history.
Yeah.
So, as we've always said, I am always willing to be patient, you know.
Yeah, I'm willing to be patient too. I would love for someone to at least just like message us about them or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, I put those on Etsy. I put some high-end fabric on Etsy. 3 items on Etsy is not very many, but I just thought I would give it a go for fun. So something we bought at the thrift store over the week, which was kind of a personal score, was a vintage crock pot. Like the original, like when you think of crock pot, it's literally called a crock pot. And it's got like all these crazy like images of a chicken and a lobster on the side. It's really awesome. So we're actually going to keep that. But I was on the edge of actually going on eBay to buy one because I wanted a vintage one that looked funky. And actually, people sell them for pretty high prices. If they're in good shape, $80, $100
Really?
for the vintage ones, you know,
Wow.
with the cool patterns and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't keep it.
I really love this crock pot. So I'm like, you know, eventually if we don't use it, I'll sell it. Actually, we used to have a crock pot and I think the lid broke or something happened to it. But when people get into crock pots, or they're also called slow cookers, I mean, they get obsessive about them because they're like, I can just put it all in the pot and leave it for 6 hours and then it's done. So that was fun.
And we were also looking for a hand steamer for clothes.
Yeah, so when I steam dresses, I have this big steamer thing. It's like on a rolling cart and stuff. And I was at a thrift store and they had a hand steamer, just like this little handheld thing that plugged in with, you know, a little water container. And I tried to buy it because I thought it was for sale. And they're like, nope, that's ours. And actually the next day at a different thrift store, Jay found a smaller one, a little hand steamer. So if you find those little steamers, number one, I'm sure you can sell them online for a good price. But number two, they're great for steaming clothes, so you don't have to actually use an iron. So I was very thrilled to find my own stuff at a thrift store.
And I think it's Wendy used to talk about this. I mean, the idea that, now when we want things, we rarely just buy them right away. I either have a list on my iPhone or, you just keep in the back of, our minds. And we're bound to run across these things within a couple of months, So as long as we're patient to buy things, we can normally get them, really cheap or free.
I mean, I think that crock pot cost us $1, and I think she gave me the hand steamer for free.
Right.
So, if you desperately need it right away, obviously, like, I was eventually going to look for a crock pot on eBay for cheap, like try to get a good auction or something. Yeah, so we had the running list in our head, and every time I dropped in at the thrift store, we were scanning for crock pots, and we found one. And
and this is going to be a real test for us. We're almost done with this rental house that we've been it's doing, and we need to. It's got no furniture in it, so we have to get all furniture for a 2-bedroom house with kitchen
living room,
and all that stuff, and bedrooms. And so, we've bought furniture and stuff like that on Craigslist, but never in this kind of quantity because we don't want to take a year to get all the furniture.
We want it, yeah.
So it's going to be a real test when that time comes to see if I can get on Craigslist and find decent, good furniture.
And we're talking about like semi-designer furniture, not like grandma's old couch.
Why not? And find it's within a reasonable amount of time. Like in a month's time, can we do a whole house? Because, as everyone knows, you can buy furniture for so cheap on Craigslist compared to buying it brand new. We could save thousands of dollars.
Like every time we tried to buy something, like we bought a couch for our house. It was like this custom IKEA couch. The thing costs at IKEA it costs like $2,000, which I can't imagine something costs that much at IKEA, but they do. And I think we got it for $500. I'm sitting on it right now.
We did.
$500. Yep. And that's a great price for like a big old
couch. So I'm a little bit worried because we aren't giving ourselves as much time to find that much furniture. I know I could find it all if I had enough time. So we'll see.
Well, that's definitely scavenger mode when you're just like, get in the car, let's go get it, get the cash, let's go.
It's either time or
money.
Money, and we've done our life where we just have a lot of time, so we don't have to spend a lot of money on things. So today here it is really getting nice outside. It's still pretty cool, but it's not
it's sunny,
not freezing. And this just man, I was even thinking it might have been cool to go to see if the flea markets are open today. They might
be.
I don't think it's warm enough for everyone to be out.
Soon. Very soon. So
a yard sale and flea market time is definitely coming.
So that means get off your batukas and list so that you can sell stuff and have more room for all the stuff you're going to buy at the garage sales.
It's so interesting too because they'll change up our weekends. During it's wintertime, our weekends. We've actually been doing a lot of work during its weekends, but now
the weekends will be garage
it's
sailing.
Like the way we do it is like we wake up early on Saturdays, hit the flea market. Hit the yard sales, along the highway.
Early, Try to do it early, especially in the summertime when it gets super hot. You're like, let's just get out.
God, I forgot about that.
Well, the flea market.
Remember when we go out and it's like you're just sweating.
It's been so cold. Oh my God. At the flea market and for yard sailing too, I always have to bring a straw hat because if you're in the flea market without. Because the flea market is in the ones that we go to are big open fields. If you don't have a hat on, you're gonna roast.
Yeah.
So I just remember that hat, sunglasses.
God, it's so hard to imagine that time coming. But
it's been snowing so much where we are. So
it's coming. Okay, I've been kind of putting this off, but there's this guy.
His name's Skip McGrath, and you can find him at skipmcgrath.com.
And we'll link to this this page that I found it on.
He does a newsletter.
He's like an old-time online guy. He does eBay, and now he's really into Amazon. It seems like he's more into Amazon these days, but he puts out his letter every month. I like him because, again, I always try and gravitate towards people that are really into like long time it's business,
Right.
But anyway, he put out it's numbers for eBay that I think is interesting. He says by the end of 2013, the number of active eBay users was over 128 million people globally.
Wow.
So and supposedly, I guess he's getting these numbers from eBay. That's a 14% increase from
the year before,
2012. So, as we've always said, I mean, there's never been a better time to be getting into selling online because it's just going to keep growing,
Yeah, I mean, especially in emerging markets in different places around the world.
And this is 128 million people on eBay, so not all of them are sellers. It's
right?
buyers and
that's a lot of people.
So, and then he goes on to say that eBay sellers, including eBay Auto.
Okay, so including vehicles.
So cars are included in this. They made $83 billion in
sales volume.
Yeah.
So that means like how much people made, not just their fees, right?
No, I think that's what sold. So
right. So what? Yeah. Okay. So combined, just like what people are saying, that's a lot of money. 83 billion. Wow.
So there's a lot going on. It seems like its mobile is getting bigger.
Yeah, so it says eBay marketplaces generated $22 billion in mobile commerce.
So that's about a fourth of the $83 billion they made overall.
Right.
So
that's a lot.
It means people are buying more and more on their iPads and their iPhones.
Oh, this is an interesting number. In 2013, 55% of U.S. transactions included free shipping.
So
so half. Oops.
So we're always against free shipping. So it's good to see that it's still about half of.
So it's
sellers.
half.
But
yeah, I'm standing my ground on that one.
And this is, I think, interesting too. That eBay top-rated sellers, they sold 47% of sales in America. So
wow.
They sold, so almost half of all sales on eBay in the US were done by top-rated sellers.
So that's good.
So, I mean, and really I just think that would make sense is that if you're top-rated, it means that really it's a business where you're shipping next day, you're, sometimes you eat costs to make people happy. And so, that it would make sense that they were selling it's most of it. But so that still means that half of sales are just done by regular people.
Yeah, which is actually kind of amazing. So the last number we have, which is actually something we always talk about, fixed price listings now account for 73% of sales volume on eBay around the world.
Yeah. That
is something we always talk about. We think auctions are going away.
Are for suckers.
Auctions are for suckers.
I just think that, auctions were a big part of eBay in the starting out, back in the late 90s.
Yeah, that's what made sense.
I think that most people, I know me is true, I'm really not into auctions.
I don't want to wait for auctions to end.
If I want to buy something, I want to buy it now. I don't want to have to put in a bid and keep an eye on it for 5 days. I mean, especially if it's just like a normal, regular item. It seems like auctions might be good for like really weird, vintagey, one-of-a-kind.
Like one of the bicycles from Pee-wee's Big Adventure sold this week on auction for $35,000. Right. However, the top bidder had zero feedback. So I'm thinking that person is going to have to you can do a second chance offer on auctions where you say the second lowest bidder can have that price. So
and that's another reason why we don't do auctions, because that's happened many times where if we do have a popular item, very often it gets in a bidding war, but for some reason, people get involved who aren't really ever going to pay. They're just getting excited by being a part of its process, and then when they win, they don't buy it.
It's like they made it again. The other thing that's so weird about auctions is the user can actually just start an account that day with zero feedback and bid on it.
Right.
What the hell? Why is that possible?
It's Mikey talked about in our email list. He was like, eBay's the only place where like it's almost like a homeless person. would be coming in off the street to an auction and starting to bid on like a Picasso,
Yeah, exactly.
and that they have as much. So it is kind of that process.
So anyway, fixed price, make an offer, so easy.
Okay, so let's answer the questions that people have sent in for the week.
Okay, so Mama Jules sent in a question about getting an offer. She got burned when someone in the terms said they wanted free shipping. And we talked about this recently,
and
actually.
She didn't see that.
She didn't see that they said, and I want free shipping.
And so she accepted the offer and then was kind of caught having to fulfill that.
And that does suck because eBay will side with the people and say, yep, you got to give them free shipping. The only thing I can say is you have to look at the terms.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I don't think eBay's doing anything wrong. That's just what the rules are, and you just have to learn what the rules are, So, anytime we accept an offer, we always make sure we look in the terms. It's most people don't put anything, but...
Most people don't put anything, or they ask a question, or they just say something random. But sometimes they will say, with free shipping, or total with shipping, whatever. But you just have to look out for that.
And very often what we do is we just counter with the same exact price, but say no free
yeah, exactly. That's what we do. We just counter, we'll take $35, but you got to pay the shipping.
And half the time people accept.
Most people do.
Okay, so it's Nickel and Diamonds. It's my son and I saw an accountant about getting a tax ID. It's recommended we create a sub-chapter S-Corp to handle our eBay cash. I'm not feeling really positive about this because accounting language is foreign to me. Can I ask what kind of tax ID we have and need suggestions?
Okay, so a sub-chapter S-Corp, in my opinion, along with like an LLC, is way too much.
Look, we're just like you. We don't know a lot of that fancy foreign accounting language. Although I'm not saying being ignorant is good because, it's easy just to do a Google search. I've read about all these. But when I read about them, they just don't seem to solve any problems we're trying to handle.
Right.
So all we have is a general partnership.
Yeah, and basically a general partnership, or if you don't have another person working with you, it's a sole proprietorship.
It's just going down to your local county office and saying, I'm basically starting a business. And they give you a name, or you pick a name, and then you're able to open up a bank account. And then you can go to the IRS and get an EIN number.
Which is your tax ID number that's different than your social security number that you do your taxes with. And actually, it's a good question because that's kind of what we're going to talk about in the next podcast. So you'll have to keep listening.
Yeah, so if you have an accountant, I would maybe ask him about that, about doing a general partnership or a sole proprietorship.
Those are a lot simpler business structures for someone like you.
All of that S-Corp stuff in LLC is either to avoid someone doing a lawsuit on you, which I'm not sure how that would happen in an eBay business. And also, it's just like a tax thing where, like, if you have to pay yourself a salary. But the paperwork is just so much more, and the fees every a year are so much more.
Depending on the state, you have to pay LLC and probably S-Corp fees every year it can be thousands of dollars. It's insane.
Yeah, I feel like
unless
you have like a lot of employees or like $1 million plus in business, it's worth it. But again, please talk to your own accountant about this kind of thing.
Yeah, just ask them about it because that's what we do. Okay, Lisa B says, I have not started home pickup by USPS because the website says you have to say how many packages and the weight of the packages the day before the pickup. Since my carrier doesn't come until after 3:30 in the afternoon, I always have more packages that day. What do you do about this? Okay, this is what I do. I estimate about what I'm going to have based on what I know the night before because you have to get it in by 2 a.m. Central Time. So that's 3 a.m. our time. And my carrier does not care. So if I say I have 2 priority mail packages and 1 first class package that weigh about 10 pounds, well, if I have double that, she doesn't care. She just picks it up anyway. So depending on who your carrier is or if they have to carry it by hand versus in a truck, just talk to them about it,
Yeah, I would just ask the post office person themselves how they feel about it. I mean, I would assume that they're just asking so that they know if they need a big truck, small truck.
Like when we came back from Amsterdam, I mean, there were days where I had like 70 boxes, and I really had to emphasize to them, I have so many boxes, you have to bring a minivan, you know, or come back twice. So they took that in consideration. But regular day-to-day, they're just like, whatever, you know, they don't care. Okay, so Melissa asks, shipping in a padded flat rate envelope, what are the possibilities? I guess it's not really a question.
It just says, well, I guess the great thing about padded flat rate envelopes is that they're a single price, you know. So
they're
if you can shove something in there,
this is what they say at the post office: if it fits, it ships.
Right.
So if it fits in the flat rate envelope, there you go.
But the problem is that it's an envelope, so anything you get in there is going to get smashed, squeezed,
yes,
all those things. So I mean, really, the only thing that would make sense are things like small pieces of clothing, ties.
Or smaller shoes. I put shoes in padded flat rate envelopes, a book.
I mean, some people do fancy ways to pack like a mug.
Yeah.
I've seen, but I don't know, things like that starts getting a little bit
I don't put delicate
dicey.
things like anything breakable in a padded flat rate envelope. However, there are other flat rate sizes like small flat rate box, which I have put delicate things in before because you can wrap it in bubble wrap and it's, you know, a nice shell. So I definitely recommend flat rate, all kinds of flat rate. As you might have seen in my shipping photo of my new shipping table, I have like every single USPS box you could possibly order.
Just be like any other a seller that ships a lot of stuff. Experiment, and trust me, when you try and shove something into an envelope and then it breaks, then that tells you, okay, that's not something I should do.
I have split mini envelopes and learned my lesson. So okay, so Nicholas asks, what image hosting do you use to embed your photos in your listings? I'm currently using Picasa at the moment, and it seems like when someone starts watching the item, the image is broken. That's super weird. Okay, so I just have a server that I pay for where I drop my photos in and just use the link. I'm like an HTML nerd, so I can like write that up.
Yeah, I mean, we have a server space because we have a couple of other websites, so we just have space, and that's where we put it all. It'd be interesting to hear from other people where they host their photos.
If you host your own photos, where do you put them? How do you embed them? I've never used Picasa to embed, but your image should not break after someone watches the item. That's very bizarre. I've never heard of anything like that. So, okay, Treasure Finder Online asks for, can you walk us through your specific process of posting photos? When I do this from my Mac, the process is slow. After I hit add photos, I always have to navigate to the iPhoto folder. Yes, that's kind of a pain. Then once I select to upload, it doesn't let me do any more work in Safari. So again, since I do my own hosting mostly, I have folders where I've, taken stuff out of iPhoto and into my own individual folders. You could probably do that. The other thing that I suspect is you're taking photos at a very high resolution on either your phone or your digital camera. Like you said, it's taking a while to upload them through Safari to eBay. So maybe bring the resolution of your photos down a little bit.
Because that's something that we've done, is that we have our photos are taken also. They're
huge resolution.
They're huge and they're a natural format, but when we upload them, they're still high quality, but we've made them to where they're a manageable size.
They're a web size. My photos are 640 by 480, not like 2100 by 10,000 or whatever. It's like not huge. So just take that into consideration. You have settings on your digital camera probably where you can bring it down to a smaller size. That might help. But you can also pull stuff out of iPhoto into a folder on your desktop for uploading. All you do is just drag it off of iPhoto. It's really easy. But so hopefully that helps you. But
that's a great question though, because these are those little tiny things that you need to figure out to be efficient.
Right, because you have to be able to list fast. Because if you can't list fast, I totally understand that. I remember when the photo uploader on eBay was like the worst uploader, and it uploaded stuff out of order, and it made me so crazy that I was like, I'm hosting all my own photos. But now eBay gives you 12 photos and it does it in order, so thank God for that.
Okay, this same person asks, can you tell me the name of the app that automates feedback?
There's no app that automates feedback, but if you have a store, then you can set your automation settings to just automatically leave feedback either once a person pays, or I think once the person leaves you feedback or something like that.
Yeah, so I guess it is one of those few things that only a store can do that other people can't do.
I think we failed to mention that in our automated feedback episode, that we didn't realize, like, just regular sellers who don't have a store can't automate feedback. So if you have a store, it's somewhere in the settings. You can Google it, and I'm sure you'll be able to find the answer of where it is.
So our last question is from, it's Brian. He asks, do you guys ever take anything to a tailor to fix before selling on eBay? For example, I recently purchased a Brooks Brothers camel hair overcoat at a thrift store for $5. The liners are ripped on the inside, so I was thinking about having it professionally fixed before selling it. And I'm assuming that's because the idea is if you can get a really nice item in perfect shape, then you're going to sell it for a lot more.
Right. My experience is no, I don't ever do anything like that. Not anymore.
I mean, I would suggest, just for experiment's sake, go and take it to a tailor and get a price,
yeah.
See how much. We've tried that before. Like, we had a coat that had a bad stain on it that we wanted to see if we could get clean.
Dry clean, yeah.
It was a leather coat. And so we took it, and it was going to be like $50 to have it clean. So it just...
And the lady, you got mad at this lady. She said she didn't even know if she could get it clean.
So she wanted me to spend $50 to take a chance.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's always good to improve things, but we always have to balance the amount of time something takes to get that thing fixed, and then how much investment we have to put in it versus how much money we're going to get back. So normally we don't have things professionally cleaned or fixed. We'll clean it ourselves or try and fix it ourselves.
Right. I have had some shoes fixed, like really nice shoes, where I'm like, okay, I bought them for $1. If she fixes the heels, it'll cost me $7, and I'll sell them for $100. So, those numbers for me added up. But, if you bring it to a tailor and they're like, oh, I have to redo this whole thing, it'll be $75. I mean, just see,
Yeah, I mean, and we've always been able to sell high quality things. If it has damage, we just show the damage, as long as it's not something that is a deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, people, I find a lot of times, even with like high heels with broken heel tips, they're like, great, I'll just get them fixed. I don't care. I still want them. They're willing to do the work afterwards for a deal. So you got it for $5. Maybe you can still sell it for $100 or more and just say, liner has to get fixed.
I mean, we've been having a lot of luck with these like vintage, or I don't know if it's vintage, but these older high quality Hoover and vacuum cleaners, like the handheld ones, but they're really like heavy duty ones. We sell them for $50 all day long, and we'll find them, and they'll often have a broken or old...
The belt.
The belt.
Yeah, so it was funny because I had one listed, and I kept getting, like, offers and questions, and finally I just put it on fixed price for $50. I got it home, I tested it, and the brushes wouldn't move. And I thought, I just need a new belt, I think. That's what I've heard. So I just went on eBay, bought a new belt for $3, replaced the belt, and it was good as new. So... Right. I've been buying these vacuum cleaners for literally 50 cents to $1 because people are like, oh, they don't work. Oh, yeah, well, you just have to replace the belt.
Right. So, I mean, those are things where we'll actually invest some time and energy.
A little bit of money.
Because, obviously, some things, if are sold as broken or as is, they just don't sell for it's as much at all because someone else has to do that work. I think the one item where we've actually put a lot of time into it and mainly because it was fun for us, is we went to an auction, and in a box lot, we bought this old fancy camera.
Yeah, it's called a Rolleiflex, if anyone's a camera nerd.
And we were so excited to find it just because it was just a neat item. And we actually took it to like a camera shop.
Yeah, it was like one of those like camera shops that actually repairs film cameras. Like we drove over an hour to bring it to this place, and we wanted to have it usable. So we had the guy, we spent, I think, $120 to have it fixed.
Right, and he cleaned it and he tested it, and there was one thing he had to fix, but he also took a series of photos and made us a contact sheet, so we could show that it worked. And so something that I think we bought the whole box for $150, and there's a bunch of stuff in there.
There was a quilt that sold for $130, so we made back our money on that one.
And so it was worth it to invest $100 because we ended up selling it for almost $1,000.
Yeah, we sold it for $1,000 because if you look up a Rolleiflex, I mean, those are the cameras that photographers die for.
So I don't know. I hope that helps. I mean, we rarely do upgrade things ourselves, but
unless it's like Jay said, I mean, I can do it myself if I put a little polish on it or need to clean it or scrub it. I mean, simple stuff like that, but or sew a button back on or something. But yeah, just get a price from someone. You know, if you live in a rural area, a lot of times stuff like that is way cheaper than you think.
So that's the end of this podcast. We had one more question that we're going to turn into actually our next topic, and that is we're going to talk about how we went from being like a hobby, a seller, into becoming basically
a business,
an official business.
Yeah.
I think it's a great question, and we're going to kind of go over that in the next episode.
So keep listening, keep listing, keep working. Okay.
See ya.
Bye.